All right, Tony, thank you so much for being here today. I am so excited to have you share your insights and some advice with our students. And I'm going to ask you to start off by introducing yourself, when you graduated from the program, which program it was,
Mhm.
and what you're doing now.
Hey, good morning, Melissa. My name is Tony Palermo, and I'm a proud alumni of the George Washington University. My journey to George Washington started in 1987 when I was admitted to the political communication program and graduated with a degree in political communication in 1991. So I went from 1987 to 91. The economy was not doing very well, so I stayed in for graduate school and was really lucky to get admitted to George Washington University again. I tried out for three schools in the subject of public administration, and I was admitted to GW. And of course, I wanted to go back to GW and do 2 more years of graduate work in the School of Public Administration. Back then, it was the Executive, Legislative, and Regulatory Affairs program. And it was under the business school, so a lot's changed. So congratulations for the Trachtenberg School of Public Administration. Stephen Joel Trachtenberg was the president of George Washington University. When I was on campus, I worked for the GW Hatchet, which covered him and covered Lloyd Elliott when he left. Lloyd Elliott would remember the 60s, but and so was Stephen Trachtenberg. But Stephen Trachtenberg was new back then and stayed around for a long time. But I'm happy to be here in sunny Southwest Florida, where I am from. So I went from Florida to GW, stayed there for 6 years, and then returned to Florida.
Wonderful. And tell us what you're doing in Florida.
Yeah, in Florida, I've got a successful career in local government. So I'm really lucky that I went from public administration, studying the field of government, and not just federal government, federal, state, and local government, and broke into local government. Currently, I'm the assistant director of community development for the city of Fort Myers, Florida, in Southwest Florida. It's a city of about 100,000 people, and community development does your planning, zoning, land use, building permits, code enforcement, and affordable housing. So we have a lot of growth going on in Southwest Florida. We've had a lot of growth in Florida my entire life, and we manage growth and we do permitting and we help customers open new businesses and develop responsibly in the state of Florida. And we also listen to people's complaints about traffic and about water pressure and about their quality of life in Southwest Florida, which is really hard to do when you have thousands of people moving here. It's a good problem to have because you'd rather live in a place where people are attracted to and want to stay and want to live rather than people who want to flee and get out of. And sometimes you want to flee and get out of Florida, but sometimes most people will either stay here or move here and not just be close to mom and dad.
Exactly. I can't imagine that there's any traffic complaints or water pressure complaints. I can't imagine what you could be talking
I
about.
didn't drive when in my entire 6 years at George Washington University. My roommates and I rented a car a couple of times to take road trips, but we did not drive to get from here to there for 6 years. And that was quite a luxury, but you can only do that in a very dense urban environment, which Fort Myers, Florida is not a very dense urban environment. We've got a nice little downtown with shops and restaurants, but we are not Washington, D.C., so everyone gets around by car. Only the brave and only those who want to sweat take the bicycle or walk. But I enjoy taking walks downtown, but it's much better in the winter.
Gotcha. Gotcha. All right. I am going to ask you 5 questions.
Okay.
And the first question is, what's the best networking advice you've received in your career or as a
It is to do networking. It's something that is easier to say than to do, but actually to do it, especially early in your career, is important. And I've continued to do it throughout my entire career. I think it is paid off because I started as a newspaper reporter for the Charlotte Sun Herald, a little newspaper in Southwest Florida, and then broke into local government because I started to cover people who did planning and zoning and local government, like city and county administrators. And so I just used that opportunity to literally network into a job. And then even in the days before LinkedIn and things like that, it was good to participate in professional organizations. And Southwest Florida is full of professional organizations that specialize in planning. The American Planning Association, for example. There's also other organizations, the Florida Planning and Zoning Association, the Urban Land Institute, but it's important to be involved. You can be a leader, you can run for president or chair of something, you can write articles, and you can participate in state, local, and even national conferences if you want to. That's a great way to network. It's not just about approaching strangers and annoying them with questions or talking to people who are irrelevant to your field, but it's good to network with both experts, non-experts, people who are in law, people who are in local government, small business owners, and just your mom and pops. But network with everyone, be kind to everyone, and be kind to everyone, all over the organization is a good way to start a career and maintain it, and then ultimately seek advancement. But don't let it be about seeking advancement. Be about what's fun and interesting to you, because you'll find networking opportunities at the grocery store, at mass, at church, or just out in the field, or in your local community. So I've been lucky. All government here is local, and we are very close to the people. And if you don't like people, you shouldn't be in this business.
Gotcha. Yeah, a real curiosity and a real interest in other people makes networking actually pretty fun.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's also good just to like your colleagues and like your neighbors. And if you don't like your colleagues, maybe you should go into another profession. But I found that planning is it's an interesting profession. It's one I'd never heard of at GW or even growing up. But I got to know it's a real mishmash of urban design, environment, housing, law. There's a lot of legal aspects to it. There's a lot of property rights issues. And it's just the development of anything, whether it's multifamily, whether it's condos, whether it's apartments or strip malls or true, nice urban development. Most of the stuff out there is pretty just standard development. It's your Taco Bell, it's your Burger King, it's your strip mall, and there's some nice places like our downtown Fort Myers is a very nice place and a very urban place, but it's a very unique place. So we're lucky to have that in our community, and we're lucky to have it connected to great neighborhoods.
Excellent. Okay. Next question. What specific action have you taken that you think has impacted any of your job searches?
Didn't quite understand the question, so just explain to me what you're after there.
Yeah, I mean, did you have any kind of a strategy? Was it really about networking and talking to people? Was there some sort of research that you did to figure out where you wanted to go next?
It's really the origin story is working. My first job I could get out of college was the Charlotte Sun-Herald, just doing beat reporting. I could cover cops, fire, local government, water districts, that sort of thing. That got me in contact with people who actually do local government for a living. Since I'm a reporter, you had sort of a peer relationship with a lot of people, but a lot of interesting people who were engineers, planners, lawyers, elected officials, county administrators, city administrators. Get to know people like that in careers that you want to get into, and then you'll understand, number one, what they do for a living, number two, how they spend their time, and number three, whether they're good people or likable people that you'd want to spend time with or even want to be a colleague of. So I really didn't get into that job to network or to get a job, but it just became apparent. And then as I talked to planners and told them, oh yeah, by the way, I do have a degree in public administration. I did go to George Washington University. Once people were aware of that, and enough people were aware of that, they encouraged me to, hey, apply for this entry-level planning job, apply for this job. So I applied for entry-level planning jobs 3 times in a row and finally got in the third time and joined a small planning department in Charlotte County, Florida, and got my, a couple of years of experience. And then after that, you can go anywhere you want. I could have gone anywhere in the country. But I stayed in Southwest Florida, but jumped to Sarasota County, and then spent a lot of time in Lee County. And for the past 7 years, I've been in the city of Fort Myers. So it's good to get to know who you want to be in the future, and then you can jump around in the beginning of your career to kind of find your footing, but eventually you should stay in one place. I did in Lee County for 15 years, and I have in the city of Fort Myers for 7 years. And both of those jobs were in downtown Fort Myers. So I've been in downtown Fort Myers for quite a while now. Gotcha. But yeah, just get to know your colleagues, be kind to them, and they will hopefully be kind to you in the future. And a lot of people were kind to me when I was searching for a job after my career was ending in Lee County, and then finding advancement in the city of Fort Myers turned out to be easier than it should have been.
Excellent. Excellent. So on the topic of interviewing,
Mhm.
what have you found most helpful in preparing for any of your interviews, or what are thoughts that you have about, advising other people when they're preparing to do an interview
I've
as
got
an
exper-
interviewee?
I've got experience on both sides
Yeah.
because obviously you start out interviewing for jobs and then praying that something good will happen afterwards. So that's not much of a strategy, but that's what you have to do in the beginning. Um, I found actually it was useful when I was in Lee County for so long, for 15 years. Even during the Great Recession, I tended to apply for jobs. No, I wasn't interested in moving anywhere, but I applied for jobs all over the state of Florida for planning jobs, community development director jobs, and just to sort of practice it, go on the road, put your show on the road, put your resume out there, see if anyone bites at it. And it kind of does your ego some gratification to go, oh, we're in the middle of a recession. I put out this resume and I got a couple of interviews to go to. And so it ends up being a road trip to Tampa or Ocala or Miami. Again, I'm not really interested in going there, but it was good practice to sort of try out my craft, try out strategies of number one, trying to get an interview, and number two, trying to get an interview and get an offer. I got an offer from Ironwood, Michigan, which is way up north, for a community development director job. And it's flattering to get that offer. It was for very little money. I wasn't going to move to basically the frozen north. But at least it showed you can do this, you can become a community development director or something else. But a lot of it is just practicing it, doing it, and then just relaxing and knowing no one's going to kill you after an interview or during an interview. And I've even gone to interviews and in the middle of the interview thought, I would never want to work for these people. And I don't articulate that or say that, but you walk out going, well, I don't care about getting that job because I would never work for them. You are interviewing them as much as you are being interviewed by them.
Yeah, absolutely. And that takes some of it sounds like the practicing and then the remembering that you have power in this relationship as well is helpful for
Mhm.
building confidence.
Yeah, yeah, and a lot of bosses are jerks, and you learn that in an interview, or you may not learn that. But yeah, if you can't spend 5 or 10 minutes with someone, you don't want to work there.
Absolutely. Thinking back to school,
Hmm.
was there any particular project or skill or experience that you highlighted to employers, either on your resume or in an interview or in conversations that kind of sticks out in your memory?
No, it's long forgotten about. So the material you learned at George Washington University is just not useful. You really only learn things in local government, doing the job, or in real world experience. Maybe that's not so true, but I did take a class or two in state and local government, in urban affairs, and I think that was good to get exposed to that stuff early, and at least uh, know a little bit of what you're talking about. So those parts of GW looking back were good. Even the other parts of GW where you didn't use that in your career, like I did classes in mostly federal government and executive, programs in the federal government or topics that I've long forgotten about. But GW's curriculum was broad enough where you get exposed to a lot of stuff, and even stuff you're not going to use, and even the stuff you don't use that you do at least have a memory of. Because in my field, I do work with all sorts of experts who do financing, who do budgeting, who do public works, who do engineering, who do public management, human resources. It's nice to have a background in all those things, but I think having a background in public administration was very useful for local government. It definitely would be useful for state government, and it would be useful for the federal government. It's just funny because GW back then was very geared towards the federal government. A lot of professors had experience in the federal government or had worked for prior administrations. So that was all good experience and all good and fun, but you do learn so much from doing the job in the real world. But I'm sure it was helpful, but it's not a helpful answer, but it's a real answer.
Gotcha. Gotcha. Is there any particular skill that you love to see on somebody's resume when you're looking at them?
Yeah, there's basically there's technical skills and there's also people skills, but anyone who can sit in a room and talk to you, that's a skill. Writing is a skill. It's not just because I'm a former journalist, but it's not a skill everyone has, but the ability to write and to write quickly and to write 1 or 2 pages without much sweat or much effort, it still comes in handy whether you're in management or whether you're in the front lines. So you need to be able to work with people, to be nice to people, to work with diverse types of people, and to be able to write and to communicate. That's important. It's important to dress well. It's important to look well. I'll take off my tie after this interview because I knew I was going to say something about dressing well, but not everyone dresses well in the state of Florida. But you want to look like management if you are management, and you want to look like management if you want to be in management. On the technical side, I think I never had GIS mapping skills. I'm now using them because I'm looking for a GIS specialist in the community development department. So we are hiring for that. Affordable housing skills are out there. We need are out there. Urban planning skills, even though there are programs in urban planning all over the place, people don't have that right combination of education and real world experience. We are not going to hire someone right out of college and then put them into a senior planner job or a long-term planner job, because that would be unfair to the citizens and it would be unfair to that employee. You need that right experience of having some real world experience and having some higher education. But the real world experience you need, and those people who have real world experience, they're spoken for already, or they have too much experience, and you can't untrain someone who's been in the field for 20 or 30 years and they have bad habits. And so just develop good habits, develop new skills, develop expertise in a niche area, whether it's planning, zoning, urban design, GIS, have it do something. But in planning, you have to do a little bit of everything or be an expert in a little bit of everything. And that's what I am. I'm an expert in a little bit of everything. I'm not an expert in GIS. I'm not an expert in urban design. I'm not an expert in land use law. I'm not an expert in how to regulate a sidewalk, but other people are.
Right, absolutely. And my last question, which you may have answered, so maybe it's just going to be a little bit of repetition, but any specific action or specific advice you'd suggest for students who are looking to break into your field?
That's a good question, but first have some knowledge about the field, be involved in join the American Planning Association at a very minimum. We have a great APA in Florida. Every state has one, but there you will meet other planners in the public sector, in the private sector, learn all the types of planning, learn all the types of jobs in local government, because it's getting more and more specialized. There's people who do nothing but parks planning. There's people who do nothing but zoning. Learn about zoning, learn about affordable housing, learn about your natural environment, learn how to make a map. And I think you're pretty much guaranteed to get a job anywhere in the country. I would also encourage people to move to the state of Florida. There's 67 counties that need urban planners. They need graduates from George Washington University to go into public administration. There's tons of small towns. There's tons of small counties. That's a good place to get your feet wet. Those are places that will actually hire you, even sight unseen, because they're that desperate for new people. Get your 1 or 2 years of experience, and then you can move to someplace more pleasant like Tampa, Orlando, Jacksonville. Those are just some of my favorite places and good places to hold conferences. But there's always Southwest Florida. We have Naples, Punta Gorda, City of Fort Myers, of course, Sarasota, Bradenton, all good places. So I would encourage people to check us out because we're growing. Try to go someplace that's growing. Try to go someplace that's got some stability to it. But believe it or not, Florida has some stability to it. People keep moving here. I don't know why, but they retire here. They're tourists here, and just check it out.
Terrific. Thank you. I have family there too, so hopefully I'll be heading down soon because it's going to get cold here. So thank you so much, Tony, for
Oh,
joining.
thank you so much. I really appreciate it,
Been
really enjoyed
great.
it. Those are great questions, and I hope your students and I hope your alumni can get something out of it.
Thank you.